Hi everyone, this is Satyajit. In our last videos, we discussed about the IP addressing, the class of IP addresses, and how we calculate the IP addresses and the different types of private IP addresses. Then we understood about what is loopback addresses. Okay, so in this video, we will discuss about like what is tenancy. So in term of VPC, right? So whenever I'm going to create a VPC, let's say this is my AWS console, and once I able to log into the AWS console, I'm able to log in, and you can search for the VPC. Okay, once you click on this VPC, I'll just explain in the next videos what is VPC, but I'm just explaining what is tenancy. When you click on create VPC, this time when you give the CIDR range, okay, that time it is giving tenancy. So tenancy is two types, default and dedicated. Now we will understand what is tenancy. So tenancy means like there is a service called EC2. EC2, just understand, it's a virtual machine. We are creating a virtual machine, or just in the layman terminology, it's a computer. You are going to create a computer in the AWS. Okay, so while we are going to create it, okay, so where it will place. So as I earlier say, like AWS is also manage the data center, like we called as a availability zone. So there will be a region. Inside the region, there will be availability zone. So in availability zone, nothing but a data center room. And in that data center room, racks will be there. Racks means the cage-like structure where the server will be placed. So they have their many racks, okay, the very big data center, many racks. So in that, so whenever we want the configurations, let's say we require a virtual machine of 2 GB of RAM and 1 vCPU. Okay, so we need to just drop down so that option should be there in the AWS. Once you click on that, once you click on that, okay, I require a machine of 2 GB RAM and 1 vCPU. And once you create it, automatically your server will be created on a particular data center, like which availability zone you have chosen. It means like there will be availability zone 1, 2, 3. I said earlier, like that is for high availability. So once you place and select availability zone 1, so it will create the server in the availability zone 1. Okay, so now the tenancy means how the EC2 instance will be distributed in the physical hardware, like how your EC2 instance will be deployed in the particular rack. Okay, so that is called tenancy. So there is two types of tenancy. One is default or dedicated tenancy. So default is nothing but the shared tenancy. It means like so AWS account or AWS region. So multiple people or multiple customers are using the region. Okay, so the shared tenancy means whenever you create one server, okay, the server will be placed any of the rack. Okay, and let's say other person also created server, that server also can placed in the same rack. So there is no guarantee that it should be like whenever you create your multiple server, it will be placed in one rack. There is no guarantee in the shared tenancy or default tenancy. Default tenancy means everyone server can be placed anywhere. Like let's say there are you creating 4 servers, but you selected default tenancy. So it means, so your one server can be part of one rack, other server can be part of rack 10, other server can be part of rack 100, or there might be a chance your server can be placed in one rack. Okay, so there is no guarantee. Okay, so that is free of cost. Like free of cost means like you don't have to pay much. Anyway, the EC2 server cost you have to pay per hour basis, like as you said, pay as you go model. Like you are using for 1 hour, you have to pay for 1 hour. Apart from that, you don't have to pay any extra charges because that is the default tenancy or shared tenancy. Now, but there might be a requirement, you want your all the server should be placed in a one rack, or your server should be placed dedicatedly in a rack. Okay, so so that is called dedicated tenancy. It means your server can be part of one rack. Okay, so that is called dedicated tenancy. So you can differentiate, right? Default tenancy, like your server can be scattered anywhere, so there is no charges. But you want some more functionality, you want a dedicated tenancy, so for that you have to pay extra. Your server cost will be there, pay as you go model for hourly charges will be there. Along with that, you have to pay extra charges because you reserving that. Okay, you reserving that instance. So again, the dedicated tenancy is of two types. One is called dedicated instance and one is called dedicated host. So whenever you're doing dedicated instance, it means when you launch the instance under dedicated instance model, so AWS will create a virtual machine inside a single tenant hardware. Single tenant hardware means the rack. You understand the rack, okay? So the rack, your server will be deployed. It means that like all the instance, whatever you are going to launch, it will be like that in that host from your account only. The server can be launched. So that is dedicated instance. When you talk about dedicated host, it means the fully host will be reserved for you. Like the rack, same rack will be reserved for you. Like how many server you are going to create, your server will be part of that dedicated host. So dedicated host means total rack you are reserving. It means the cost is very high on the dedicated host. So whenever it is required, like what is the useful for that? Let's say you required latency, like very low latency, and also you required very regulatory, right? Your data will be more secure and you want all the servers should be part of one rack. On that situations, you can use the dedicated host. Okay, so by default we are using default tenancy, which is nothing but shared tenancy. But along with that, dedicated instance is little bit improvement in the sense like it will be in a single tenant hardware. Okay, and if you want more secure, and I cannot say about secure, but about how you're accessing it, right? So there you can go for the dedicated host. In the below diagram, you can easily understand what is by the diagrammatically. So when you call shared tenancy means just understand this is the rack, and here many. So the red color is customer A, and the green color is customer B, and the blue is our instance, and some of this is unused means that is remain free. So shared tenancy model means anyone can instance, like different customer server also will be placed, and our server will be also placed. That is called shared tenancy, which is the default one. Next, under dedicated tenancy, when you say dedicated instance, on the dedicated instance, like that is dedicated for you, only your instance, whatever the instance you are going to launch, only your will be there, or it is dedicated for you. And when dedicated host means the fully host is dedicated for you, it means though you use it or don't use it, you have to pay for that. Okay, more charges. So dedicated host is more costly. Okay, so now today we gone through what is tenancy. Tenancy means like how your EC2 server will be placed in a hardware. Okay, hardware is nothing but in the data center. So that is we have two types. One is default tenancy or dedicated tenancy. Default tenancy is nothing but the shared tenancy, and dedicated tenancy is of two types. One is dedicated instance and dedicated host. So dedicated host is more costly, and shared tenancy is free. Apart from that, your server cost. Dedicated instance, there will be a cost associated. Okay, thank you for watching my videos. In our next videos, we'll discuss how to create a VPC.